All right, well, your book talks about market segmentation, and it discusses a lot of ways to approach the idea of segmentation. So let's talk a little bit about that. Once again, we start with the notion that you can't appeal to everybody, and so the solution would be to identify groups of customers with similar wants and needs and then focus on satisfying that particular groups of customers' wants and needs. It's a segmented approach to marketing strategy. Now, the history of segmentation goes back a long way, and your book starts off with geographic segmentation, and it uses an example of Campbell's soup. The first form of segmentation was, in fact, geographic segmentation. And the argument was that people who live in particular parts of the country have similar wants and needs. So the argument is, well, people that live in Superior, Wisconsin, where it gets to 35 below zero in the winter, well, they're going to want different kinds of clothes than the people who live in Las Vegas. And to some degree, you can understand how that might be true. On the other hand, people in Superior, Wisconsin buy shorts and T-shirts and swimwear, and the people who live in Las Vegas who go skiing or travel to colder parts of the country own parkas. And so you can see where the geographic segmentation, while it is a starting point for the idea of segmentation, is very imprecise and doesn't work very well. The second type of segmentation is demographic segmentation. There's a couple of points to be made about demographic segmentation. Number one, your book spends a lot of time talking about it, and it is the most often used form of segmentation. Let's repeat that. It's the most often used form of segmentation. Why is that? Well, it's easy, and therefore it seems like that's what we should do. There's only a couple of problems with demographic segmentation, and the first problem, of course, is it doesn't work. That's right, demographic segmentation doesn't work. Let's take you as a group. Would you argue that college students all have the same wants and needs in terms of fast food? Do you all want the same thing in fast food? Well, the answer to that is obviously no. How about female college students that are affluent, a more specific segment? Well, the answer to that is also no. They just because they're all women and just because they're all college students and just because they're all affluent doesn't mean that they're going to want the same thing. Next, we have lifestyles. And lifestyles are things like dinks and people with inner and outer directed focuses, different lifestyles that people have. Do those people have similar wants and needs? And the answer is, of course not. The same thing can be said for geodemographics or geodemographics plus vals or any other of these what we would call descriptive approaches to segmentation. The problem with each of these approaches is that it doesn't specifically address the issue of similar wants and needs. What it does is focuses on descriptive aspects of the customers and not their motives. And so we were really looking for some motive-based approach to segmentation that would work the best. Well, an example of that, of course, would be benefit segmentation. And this has been around for a very long time. It was introduced by Russ Haley all the way back in 1968. The difference with benefit segmentation is it focuses on the benefits offered by the product. Remember the MAU or multi-attribute utility models that we discussed in the consumer behavior section of the class? It focuses on the actual benefit sought. So when I go to, so an example for a fast food restaurant, rather than saying that college age women are a segment, we would argue that we ought to be focusing on the benefit sought. So what do people want when they go to a fast food restaurant? Well, some of the people want inexpensive food. Others might want a nice place to sit down and have a meal. Others might want fast food. And others might want a menu variety, or many of the other attributes that might be associated with benefit segmentation. The idea behind benefit segmentation is it focuses on causal factors rather than descriptive factors. That is, reasons to buy. And as we like to say from the old days of the Superman TV days, benefit segmentation is more powerful than a locomotive. It's able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's not Superman, it's benefit segmentation. If you want to hear that sound, I have attached the Superman note right below us here. So, Jack, if benefit segmentation is so powerful, why is it that people don't use benefit segmentation? Well, here's why. The people don't use benefit segmentation because it's difficult to do, much more difficult than simply breaking customers down by age. It's more expensive to do because you actually have to do some research to figure out why people are buying products. And then finally, it's more time consuming. So why do people like to use demographics? It's easy and it's cheap. Why don't I recommend demographic segmentation? It doesn't work. Now, benefit segmentation is more difficult to do, more expensive, more time consuming, but the difference is it's based on causal factors and it works. So what's the solution to this? Well, there's a number of things called bootstrap benefit segmentation or benefit segmentation using secondary data. In the example I'm going to provide to you, I'll show you how that works. Now, target markets are those groups of customers at which your marketing program is aimed, hence the term target market. Target for target, market for market. Now, it's much easier to hit your target if you know what you're aiming at, and so target markets are crucial. Now, the difference between a target market and a segment is that when I look at an individual, I have no idea what segment they're in. So if I see a college-age female affluent person, I have no idea what they want in a fast food restaurant. But I could make some guesses as to what they might want. So the key idea in identifying target markets is that you want to identify target markets that have a disproportionately large number of customers that want the benefits offered by your product. That is, a disproportionate number of people from the segment you're trying to serve. Additionally, the best target markets are those that customers who are both willing and able to buy your product. So it's not enough that we identify people who would like to own a Mercedes. We really want to identify people who want to own a Mercedes and have the ability to buy one or lease one. Target markets have traditionally been identified using descriptive factors such as demographics. And so when I talk about the 18 to 34-year-old college students, that is really a target market, not a segment, even though the popular press will use the two terms interchangeably, and so does your book, by the way. So mostly it's demographics, psychographics, social factors, etc. But with the new technologies available, with the marketers being able to now capture individual level purchase and other behavioral data, they're more likely to use that sort of data to identify target markets. Think about the example of someone like Amazon. If you go up on Amazon and you buy a couple of books from Amazon, the next time you come up and go to buy a book, they try to anticipate what you might want. That's based on them trying to segment you based on previous purchasing and search behaviors. Just a simple example. The basic approach to targeting is we may have one target market or we may have multiple target markets. Think about a fast food restaurant, right? A fast food restaurant could focus on one target market. That is, it could focus on a very specific group of people with a very specific set of wants and needs, or it could have a multiple groups. Now, most fast food restaurants have a multiple approach to targeting. That is, they try to target a wide variety of customers with different product offerings. Another issue when we're talking about targeting is general versus specific. So, for instance, an example of a general target market might be college students. A more specific target market might be female, affluent college students that live in Green Valley. And And nowadays, you're seeing that a lot more of the approaches to targeting are becoming more behaviorally based, that is based on previous purchase behavior.